The year was 1865, and dust rose like ghosts over the town of Redemption Creek. The sun hung low, cruel and heavy, baking the splintered wood of saloons and stables until they looked ready to crack. The streets were half empty, though every window hid a watching eye. Folks had learned to mind their own business in a place like this. The law lived here, sure, but not everyone trusted what it looked like anymore. Sheriff Cole Hartman rode down the main road with a deliberate calm that didn't fool anyone. His horse's hooves struck the ground in slow rhythm, the sound echoing off the silent storefronts. The silver star on his chest caught the light, and men nodded as he passed, more out of habit than respect. He had the look of a man carved out of the same dust he rode through, broad-shouldered, hard-jawed, eyes a shade too tired for his age. His reputation ran on duty and discipline, the kind of lawman who'd haul his own brother to the gallows if the evidence said so. But that morning, when he stopped at the edge of town to speak with Deputy Finch, something in his face betrayed unease. Finch, all nerves and ambition, leaned against the hitching post, chewing a toothpick like it owed him money. "She's out by the river," Finch said, eyes flicking toward the horizon, covered in blood. "Folks are saying she confessed already." Cole frowned. "Folks say plenty." Finch spat. "The banker's dead, Cole. Throat slick clean. And she's sitting there like she don't even care. You gonna tell me that's not guilt?" Cole didn't answer. He just nudged his horse forward, leaving Finch behind in the dust. The river lay quiet that morning, its surface reflecting a sky too blue to trust. Evelyn Shaw sat at the water's edge, her dress torn, hands stained crimson. Her hair, long, pale, and tangled, hung over her face like a curtain. When Cole approached, she didn't look up. The sight of her, so still against the restless current, did something strange to him. She wasn't weeping or pleading, just sitting, like she'd already accepted whatever fate was coming. "Evelyn," he said quietly. Her head lifted. Her eyes were soft, unfocused, like someone waking from a bad dream. "Sheriff, stand up now." She hesitated, then rose slowly. The hem of her dress clung to the mud, streaked with blood and river water. Cole saw a gash on her arm, half cleaned, half fresh. He took a step closer. "You hurt?" "No more than I deserve," she murmured. He almost asked what she meant, but the sight of the knife lying near her boot stopped him. Blood crusted along the edge. He picked it up carefully, holding it with a cloth. "This yours?" Her lips trembled. "It was... She looked away. "It belonged to my brother. He disappeared 2 months ago. You remember?" Cole did. The young Shaw boy, quiet, decent, had gone missing after accusing the banker, Silas Crane, of cheating the town's workers. No one had taken him seriously. He tied her hands, gentle but firm. "You're under arrest for the murder of Silas Crane." The words came out flat, official, like every other arrest he'd made. But inside, something twisted. Evelyn didn't fight. She just looked at him with a kind of weary understanding, as if she'd been expecting those exact words. The ride back to town was silent except for the creak of saddle leather and the hiss of wind. Cole couldn't shake the feeling that the pieces didn't fit. Crane's death was sudden, brutal, but Evelyn Shaw didn't look like a killer. Her calm wasn't defiance. It was sorrow. When they reached Redemption Creek, the air thickened with whispers. Men leaned against railings, women peered through lace curtains. The sight of the blood-streaked schoolteacher tied to the sheriff's saddle was enough to turn gossip into wildfire. Finch met them at the jailhouse steps, eyes sharp with excitement. "Well, I'll be damned. You actually did it." Cole dismounted. "Get her inside." Inside, the jail smelled of smoke and iron. The walls were close, the floorboards old enough to remember hangings. Cole unlocked the cell and guided Evelyn in. She didn't resist, but before he could turn the key, she spoke. "Sheriff Hartman," she said softly, "I didn't kill him." He paused. "Then whose blood is that?" Her gaze held steady. "The blood of a man who thought he could buy silence. He died trying to kill the truth, not me." He stared at her for a long moment. Then the key turned with a hard click. "The truth doesn't bleed on your hands," he said, though he wasn't sure if he believed it. That night, the town gathered outside the saloon, their voices rising like a storm. Judge Merrick, broad and sweating beneath his coat, called for order that never came. "She's guilty," Merrick bellowed. "We can't let the law rot under our noses. We hang her by sundown tomorrow." Cole stood in the crowd, silent, watching the faces of the men he'd once called friends. Their anger was too quick, too clean. It wasn't justice they wanted, it was a show. Later, in the quiet of the jail, he brought her a tin plate of beans and bread. She sat on the cot, staring at the floor. "They're calling for your hanging," he said. She nodded. They would. Silas owned half this town. "You had reason to hate him?" "I had reason to fear him," she replied. "But that's not the same thing." He leaned against the bars. "Then help me understand." She looked up at him, eyes glinting in the lamplight. He was smuggling gold through the bank, gold meant for the railroad workers. "My brother found the ledger. He took it to you, remember? You told him to drop it. 2 days later, he was gone. They said he ran off. He didn't." The words hit him harder than a bullet. He remembered that day, how the boy had come in trembling, voice barely above a whisper. Cole had been tired, busy, and told him to bring proof next time. There hadn't been a next time. Evelyn went on, her voice steady now. "Crane came to me last night, said he knew where my brother was buried. Said he'd show me if I brought the ledger. But when I did, he tried to take it from me. The knife was my brother's. I used it to keep him away, not kill him. He fell, hit the rock by the river." Cole's throat tightened. "Where's the ledger now?" She hesitated, then said, "Hidden. Somewhere they won't find it until it matters." He wanted to believe her. Every word rang with pain, but pain wasn't proof. The law didn't work on feelings, it worked on evidence, and all of it pointed to her. Still, something inside him shifted. He saw the exhaustion in her eyes, the kind that came from fighting battles no one else believed were real. He set the lantern down, the flame flickering against the walls. "You'll get your trial," he said finally. "Not a mob's verdict." She looked at him for a long moment, and a ghost of a smile passed her lips. "And if the trial's already bought?" He didn't answer. Outside, thunder rumbled over the plains, a sound that promised rain but felt more like warning. When he finally left the cell, locking the door behind him, the weight of the badge on his chest felt heavier than ever. He turned the key slowly, the metal scraping like a whisper. The sound echoed through the room, hollow and final. As he walked out into the night, he realized something that made his stomach twist. He just caged the only person in Redemption Creek who might still believe in justice. And for the first time since he pinned that badge to his vest, Cole Hartman wasn't sure which side of the bars he truly belonged on. By morning, Redemption Creek had turned restless. The air itself seemed to hum with expectation, thick with rumor and dust. Men clustered near the saloon porch, spitting tobacco and suspicion. Someone had painted the word "murderess" on the jailhouse wall during the night, red and dripping, like fresh blood. Cole saw it when he stepped outside, coffee in hand, and felt his jaw tighten. The town was slipping from his grasp, one whisper at a time. Deputy Finch appeared at his side, eyes bright with unease. "Judge says we hang her by sundown," he muttered. "Says there's no point wasting coin on a trial." Cole looked at him. "The law don't move by the judge's clock." Finch snorted. "Maybe not, but the judge signs your pay." Cole didn't answer. He stared down Main Street, where the early sun lit the dust in pale gold. The town looked peaceful, but he knew better. Beneath the calm, the place was ready to burn. By mid-morning, a telegraph rider from the next county arrived. Sheriff Dugan, a heavy man with a cruel smirk and eyes that had seen too much. He dismounted, swaggered up to Cole, and shook the dust off his coat. "Heard you've got yourself a murderer in there," he said, jerking his chin toward the jailhouse. "Railroad men are mighty upset. Crane was their banker, their bridge to the town. They're dem and injustice." "Justice," Cole said evenly, "or a show?" Dugan grinned, showing a row of yellow teeth. "Ain't much difference out here. Folks like their justice quick and clean." He leaned in, lowering his voice. "You hang her today, and the railroad'll see to it Redemption Creek don't dry up." New rails, new jobs, maybe even a new sheriff's office if you play your cards right. Cole met his gaze without blinking. That a bribe, Dugan? The other man chuckled. Call it an opportunity. Cole's hand drifted toward the revolver on his hip, not to draw it, just to remind them both it was there. You're not from this town. You don't tell me how to run it. Maybe not, Dugan said, mounting his horse again. But the men who own it sure as hell do. You think your badge means something, Cole? It don't. It's just tin. Same as a coin. He rode off, leaving a cloud of dust and a silence that settled like guilt. Cole stood there for a long moment, the sound of hooves fading into the hills. When he went back inside, Evelyn was sitting on her cot, hands folded, eyes on the barred window. She didn't look up when he entered. They're coming for me, aren't they? Not if I can help it. She smiled faintly. You can't fight a mob, Sheriff. Not when the mob's wearing badges. He hesitated, then unlocked the door and stepped in. You told me Crane tried to take the ledger. You still have it. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes flickered. Hidden. Safe. I need it, Evelyn. That's your proof. Proof won't matter to men who've already decided. He studied her. Then it matters to me. She finally looked at him, and something unspoken passed between them. Trust, fragile and trembling. For a moment, the lawman and the accused weren't enemies, just two souls standing on opposite sides of the same storm. That night, the storm broke. Cole awoke to the sound of shouting. He grabbed his rifle and rushed downstairs. The jail door hung open. The cell was empty. The lock smashed clean. Finch burst in behind him, out of breath. She's gone. Cole spun toward him. Gone how? I don't know. Maybe she had help. The town was already waking to news. Men poured into the streets, torches and pistols in hand, shouting her name like a curse. Find her. Hang her. The crowd surged like a river ready to flood. Cole mounted his horse before Finch could stop him. Get them back inside. Nobody rides but me. Cole, if you're going after her, then I'm doing my damn job, he snapped and spurred the horse into the darkness. The moon was high, silvering the plains and the narrow trail that wound toward the canyons north of town. He followed the tracks, small boot prints beside rougher ones. Two men, maybe three, dragging someone. Not an escape, a kidnapping. Wind whipped at his coat, the smell of sage sharp in the cold air. In the distance, a coyote howled. The sound crawled up his spine. He reached the canyon mouth before dawn. The campfire's glow flickered against the rocks. Voices drifted through the stillness, low, mocking, confident. Cole dismounted and crept closer, rifle raised. Boss'll be pleased, a man was saying. Dugan said to keep her quiet till the judge gets here. Then we string her up proper, with the sheriff none the wiser. Maybe the sheriff's wiser than you think, Cole said, stepping into the light. The men spun, startled. Three of them. Two reached for guns. Cole fired first, 2 quick shots. Both fell, their bodies collapsing into the dirt. The third bolted, a shadow slipping into the rocks. Cole didn't chase him. He turned instead toward Evelyn, tied to a post near the fire. Her face was pale, but her eyes lit when she saw him. I told you they'd come for me, she whispered. Yeah, he said, cutting the ropes. And I told you I wouldn't let them. She leaned against him, weak but standing. You shouldn't have come. They'll come after you next. Let em. They started back toward the horses, the silence broken only by the crackle of dying flames. Then from the shadows, Dugan's voice came, slow, amused, cruel. Hell, Cole. Didn't take you long to pick a side. Cole turned. Dugan stepped into the moonlight, revolver drawn, his hat tipped low. You had one job, Sheriff. Keep order. Now you're riding off with the murderer. She's no murderer, Cole said. Crane was dirty. You know it. Dirty don't mean dead. Dugan cocked the hammer. Law's still the law. Cole's rifle lifted a hair's breadth. You mean the kind that's bought and sold? For a heartbeat, the world held still. Then Dugan fired. The bullet tore past Cole's shoulder, grazing flesh. Cole fired back, hitting Dugan square in the chest. The older man stumbled, dropped his gun, and fell face-first into the dust. Smoke curled upward, the smell of gunpowder hanging heavy in the air. Evelyn looked at Cole, trembling. "Now you've done it. They'll call you a murderer too." He reloaded calmly, eyes on the horizon. "Maybe, but at least I'll know which crime I'm guilty of." They rode hard through the canyons until the first light of dawn broke over the plains. Behind them, Redemption Creek waited, a town built on lies and gold. Ahead lay open country, dangerous, wild, and uncertain. As they crossed a shallow stream, Evelyn's voice broke the silence. "You could still turn back. Say, I escaped, that you tried to stop me." He shook his head. "Too late for that." "Then what now?" she asked. He looked east, where the sun was just beginning to rise, washing the land in pale fire. "Now," he said quietly, "we find that ledger, and we see how deep this rock goes." She nodded, her expression hardening. "It'll cost you everything." He almost smiled. "Wasn't worth much to begin with." They rode on without another word, the wind cutting cold against their faces. Behind them, the law they both once believed in crumbled a little more with every hoofbeat. Ahead, the road waited, uncharted, unforgiving, and already stained with the price of truth. The sun rose blood-red over the plains, spilling its light across the broken ridges like the aftermath of a wound. Sheriff Cole Hartman and Evelyn Shaw rode side by side, silent except for the steady beat of hooves and the faint rattle of gear. They had been riding since dawn, hunted by men who wore badges but served gold. The air smelled of dust and gun oil. Every breath burned dry. Cole's shoulder throbbed where Dugan's bullet had grazed him, but he rode on jaw set. He had no choice now. The law he'd once bled for was gone, replaced by greed wearing a judge's robe. Behind them, Redemption Creek waited like a coiled snake, its whispers sharpening into knives. Ahead, the truth waited in the dirt, buried under the same ground that had swallowed Evelyn's brother. By midday, they reached the ridge overlooking the valley. A lonely cabin sat below, half collapsed, its roof sagging like an old man's spine. "That's where he hid it," Evelyn said quietly. "The ledger. My brother wrote me once, said if anything happened to him, it would be beneath the crossbeam." Her voice shook, though she fought to keep it steady. Cole scanned the horizon. The land was empty, but his instincts told him it wouldn't stay that way. "We move fast," he said. They dismounted, leading their horses behind a rock outcrop. The wind carried the scent of rain and iron. Evelyn knelt by the cabin's beam, prying at the cracked boards with trembling hands. After a moment, she pulled free a small oilcloth bundle tied tight with twine. Cole watched her unwrap it. Inside lay a leather-bound book, edges burned, but the ink within still dark and clean. Evelyn exhaled. "It's all here. Names, payments, every bribe the judge took." Cole flipped through it, jaw tightening at each line. "Half this town's bought." "Then we take it back," she said. Before he could answer, the faint sound of hooves reached them. Many hooves. Cole's head snapped up. Dust clouds formed along the ridge, a posse, maybe a dozen riders led by Finch and Judge Merrick himself. Cole's stomach turned. "They found us." Evelyn grabbed his arm. "We can still run." He shook his head. "No, not this time." He took the ledger, slipped it inside his coat, and checked his rifle. The metallic click echoed across the valley. Evelyn's eyes widened. "You'll die out here." "Maybe, but the truth dies slower than I do." They took cover behind the cabin as the riders descended. Finch's voice carried across the wind. "Cole Hartman, you're under arrest for aiding a fugitive and the murder of Sheriff Dugan." Cole shouted back, "Funny, you weren't so quick to chase Dugan's killers when they wore suits." Finch's reply came like a spit of venom. "The judge says you hang Hartman. Don't make us come in there." The first shot cracked, splintering the cabin door. Wood flew in all directions. Evelyn ducked low as Cole returned fire, his bullet striking the ground near Finch's horse, sending it rearing. The sound of gunfire rolled across the valley, thunder answering thunder. Smoke filled the air. The acrid sting bit their throats. Cole fired until his rifle clicked empty, then grabbed Evelyn's arm. "We move." They slipped out the back as bullets tore through the cabin walls. Evelyn stumbled, clutching the ledger. "If they get this, everything's lost." "Then they don't get it," he said. They darted for the rocks, dust rising around them. Finch's men shouted, circling wide. Cole fired again, dropping one. But for every man that fell, 2 more came. The judge's voice cut through the chaos, Cole commanding. "Bring them alive. The railroad wants witnesses." Cole almost laughed at that. Alive was never the plan. He could see it in the judge's eyes, even from a distance, the same greedy hunger that had taken the town. Evelyn took cover beside him, hands shaking. "Cole, they'll kill you." He glanced at her, the faintest smile cutting through the grit. "They'll have to earn it." A bullet struck the rock beside her head, showering them with stone dust. Cole aimed and fired again, catching Finch in the shoulder. The deputy dropped his gun, screaming. The others faltered, but the judge rode forward, pistol raised, his voice rising above the gunfire. "This ends now, Sheriff." Cole stepped out from cover. "You're right," he said and fired. The judge's gun went off at the same instant. Cole's shot struck true. Merrick jerked backward, eyes wide, falling from his horse into the dust. But the judge's bullet found its mark too. Cole staggered, a red bloom spreading across his chest. Evelyn caught him as he fell, pulling him behind the rocks. "No, no, stay with me," she whispered, pressing her hands against the wound. Blood seeped through her fingers. His breath came shallow, but his eyes stayed fixed on hers, calm amid the pain. "Listen," he said. "Take the ledger. Go east. There's a marshal in Carson City. Honest man. He'll know what to do." Tears streaked her face. "I'm not leaving you." "You have to." He coughed, blood on his lips. "The law's rotten, but it ain't dead yet. Someone's got to remind it what it means." Finch's voice rose again. "Closer now. They're pinned down. Move in." Cole tried to stand, but his legs buckled. Evelyn gripped his hand. "Then I'm staying." His gaze softened. "You're a fool. Then so are you." She pressed her forehead to his, just for a breath, before pulling the revolver from his holster. "For both of us," she whispered. When Finch and the remaining men rounded the rocks, she was waiting. The first shot caught the nearest rider clean through the chest. The second hit another in the leg. Gunfire roared back, kicking up sand and smoke. Evelyn kept firing, moving like a woman possessed. By the time the smoke cleared, Finch was the last standing. His gun trembled in his hand. Evelyn's revolver was empty, but her stare didn't waver. "Go ahead," she said. "Finish it." Finch hesitated, then glanced at Cole's still body. Something in his expression shifted. Guilt, fear, or maybe just exhaustion. He lowered the gun. "He was a good man," he muttered, before turning his horse and riding away. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the slow crackle of dying fire from the cabin. Evelyn dropped the revolver and crawled back to Cole's side. His eyes were open, faintly lit with the first gold of dawn. "You did it," she whispered. "They're gone." He smiled weakly. "Not gone enough." "Rest," she said. "Please." He shook his head, barely. "Promise me the ledger." "I'll get it to the marshal," she said quickly. "I swear it." He closed his eyes. The wind shifted, carrying the scent of rain over the valley. "Then it was worth it," he murmured. "All of it." When the storm came, it came soft, just a whisper of rain on dry earth. Evelyn stayed there until the last light faded, her hand still clasped around his. Then, as the night deepened, she rose, took the ledger, and mounted his horse. Redemption Creek lay far behind her now, but its ghosts would ride with her forever. She turned east, the wind at her back, and whispered into the darkness, "Justice lives, Sheriff. I'll see to it." And with that, she rode on, alone, unyielding, and alive, carrying the truth he died to protect into a world that might still remember what honor meant.